Good morning. Good morning. I think we could do better than that. The fact that we are here today, Pastor, 6 feet above the ground, able to wake up, to lift our heads up, to shake our hands, and to move around. I think we can do better than that. Good morning. God has been so good to us.
Amen. Amen, brother.
To Dr. Baines, I really want to thank you for that warm and wonderful introduction. Oftentimes people see the Chancellor, they don't see the person. And I think this morning you helped to shed light to the person from 22 sibling family. And I think that's important to know. It put things in context. Thank you so much. We appreciate your service to NCCU over the years. To Reverend Dr. Jonathan Augustine, who we refer to affectionately as Pastor J. To the First Lady of this church, Mrs. Augustine. To our senior leadership, board members, and friends of St. Joseph's AME Church. To the Honorable Natalie Murdoch, a true eagle, we thank you for your support of your alma mater. And we thank you for the fight that you put up every day to make sure that we get all of the resources that we need. To all of the elected officials who are here, and to those who are watching online, we thank you for your service. To my colleague, Dr. Ward, I want to thank you today for your long-standing, outstanding service to HBCU, and for your continued service to our institutions. You've been there, you've been in the trenches. We appreciate all that you have done and will continue to do on our behalf. And of course, to Reverend Dr. Gwendolyn Boyd, who has also been in this place, leading our HBCU. These individuals understand the call of duty and what we do on a daily basis to make sure that our students receive the best education that there is. I also want to acknowledge two of my team members who are here this morning, Pastor. Our Chief of Staff, Alzao, is here, and our Associate Vice Chancellor for Marketing and Communications, Ayana Hernandez, are also here this morning. I want to thank you all for joining me today. To all of the alumni of our esteemed HBCUs, I don't have to begin to mention the names. And in particular, to the HBCU that is being celebrated today, Pastor, North Carolina Central University, to all of the Eagles that are here in the sanctuary and those who are also watching this streaming, I want to say good morning to all of you. And I want to thank you for joining us on this very special day. Before I begin my remarks, Senator Murdoch, I wanted to let you know that NCCU has also been approved to be a vaccination center. We received our approval. It is true that A&T is one, and we applied to DHHS. We got our approval 2 weeks ago, and we are going through the validation process now. The reason why we did that, Pastor, is so that we can be of help to this community. Yeah. And we pledge to work with you. We're going to put our resources together to make sure that, all of us in this community receive the vaccination. I have to begin my remarks today by, again, extending my sincere appreciation to Pastor J. Augustine and to the St. Joseph's congregation for the invitation to be with you today, and of course, virtually to others. As you've heard earlier, Pastor J has been in the trenches as a leader, a spiritual leader. He understands what it takes and what it means to provide opportunity for the marginalized, for those in the society who do not have the opportunity to do so. And since you've been here, you've really made an attempt and a priority to continue to raise money for NCCU and for other HBCUs. I want to personally thank you for that quest. And want you to know that our 8,000 plus students and 37,000 alumni out there plus, I appreciate what you do on a daily basis. Dr. Ward, you said a few things about our institutions, our HBCUs. When I came to this country several decades ago, the first place that I stepped into was what we refer to as the Normal Hill. That is Alabama A&M. If you've been on the campus, it's on a hill. That's why they call it Normal Hill. It was a sanctuary for me, traveling over 10,000 miles into a new country. And A&M welcomed me with open hands and nurtured me. So I want to say to you today that HBCUs are more than just institutions. And I used to tell our alumni at NCCU that many of us who attend HBCUs, not only did we receive our diplomas, we also met our partners from these institutions. That's where I met my wife. So HBCUs are not only giving out diplomas, they are also giving out marriage certificates. And the same thing at NCCU. I've met so many alumni who will say to me, I met my wife, I met my husband on this campus. So our institution is more than just a place. It's a sanctuary. And we've been that for generations. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted all of our lives and touched our community in ways we could never have imagined. Our way of life and social interactions may have been altered forever. I am not sure that we can ever return to what we know as normal. We do anticipate some normalcy, but I'm not sure what it's going to be like. There are some people who have said that even with the vaccination that we now have, and with the mutation that is occurring, that we may have to be getting the vaccination every year as we do the flu vaccine. That's what we're hearing from our scientists. But despite this global challenge, Pastor Jay, your doors have remained open in a safe virtual environment while you continue the important work of delivering the spiritual nourishment and essential community resources our families need to stay physically healthy and mentally connected as we work together to overcome this virus. We thank you for what you do for this community. It is always one of the highlights of my academic year to join you on NCCU Sunday to celebrate North Carolina Central University students, faculty, staff, and alumni. Your deep generosity extends far beyond hosting us in this sanctuary. Your gifts support our number one priority, student success. We deeply appreciate NCCU's close ties and strong partnership with this influential house of worship, an affiliation that dates back to our institution's founding and continues to this day. As we gather together virtually today and 14 days into the Black History Month, I am honored to have the opportunity to share with you an aspect of America's Black history that can be directly connected to our success, both as individuals and collectively as a people. Historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs. HBCUs have unequivocally served as an anchor of our society. Since their founding, HBCUs have been the cornerstone of metropolitan cities and rural towns alike. They were and have been economic engines from the start, and today they generate millions of dollars in critical revenue for communities as far north as Pennsylvania and as far west as Texas. Most importantly, the HBCU's mission centers on setting young people and others seeking education and career advancement on paths that lead to success in their professions and personal lives. The story of these institutions is personal for me. As you've heard, mentioned by Dr. Baines, I am fortunate to be the product of two HBCUs, Alabama A&M and Howard University. So I can speak to both their power and their impact. When you have a young man just getting out of high school in search of education and can come here and nurtured and get to a place where I can lead a major HBCUs. That is a powerful transformation and the power that is embedded in these treasured jewels that we call HBCU. I find it an honor and a pleasure to lead NCCU As you've heard, NCCU, as an institution of higher learning with a rich history, as our nation's first publicly supported liberal arts college, founded for African Americans. I firmly believe that HBCUs are unsung heroes when it comes to equipping our society with a talented, competitive, and diverse global workforce. Even here in the Research Triangle, when companies are moving in, looking at RTP to settle it, one of the things that they ask for is how diverse is the workforce. And we proudly say at NCCU, we provide that diversity. We educate science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or STEM majors to supply those industries with some of their brightest minds, as you've heard. Our graduates succeed in business and industry as innovative, game-changing members of their teams, possessing the necessary soft skills to actively contribute to and advance in their chosen professions. As we continue our tradition of nurturing championships, winning student athletes who have played on the world's most competitive sports stages, from the Olympics to the Super Bowl. Our students are not only excelling in the classroom, they are also excelling in the field of athletics. Not only have our institutions been on the front lines of education, our students and professors have sat in, marched, and raised their voices to oppose injustices that have plagued our society. HBCUs, as I said earlier, are the natural habitat for society's change agents. The confidence they instill leads us to stand at the forefront of movements to dismantle racism, abolish sexism, and challenge economic disenfranchisement, among other issues. These noble efforts and activism helped pave the way for many of the freedoms and liberties we enjoy today. And as we all know, the fight is not over. Our graduates continue to lead social justice and civic engagement movements, including North Carolina Central University's own Reverend William Barber III, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. You know what he's doing. He's fighting every day. NCCU alone, HBCU alone, across the nation. The Honorable H.M. Mickey Michaud, a civil rights pioneer and longtime state legislator. You also heard mentioned earlier, U.S. Congressman G.K. Butterfield, Senior Chief Deputy Whip for the House Democratic Caucus for the 117th Congress. I can go through the list of products of HBCUs. Looking back at our history, I've always marveled at the fertile ground on which HBCUs like NCCU were founded. Visionary and fearless leaders like Dr. James E. Shepard used their intellectual acumen and business savvy to establish these institutions During periods in our history when challenges abounded, opposition was likely high, and allies were few. But their resiliency and commitment enabled them to plant the seeds that grew these institutions into engines of opportunity and thriving centers of academic excellence. It took a spirited combination of faith and noble work. Dr. Shepard wrote in his first bulletin for the then National Religious Training School and Chautauqua for the colored race, and I quote, "The main objective of this school is to impart to each student such education as shall give him, on living it, an intelligent knowledge of the principles of his craft, a general acquaintance with the commercial requirements of the trade, and such skill in practice as may assist him on leaving school to at once earn his living." End quote. This is what HBCUs have done. They've not only transformed lives, they've transformed entire communities, generations. When the opportunity for access is not there, they were the institutions that provided access for many, many, many of us to have that educational opportunity. Today, HBCUs collectively continue to uphold a legacy of service to their communities. Most recently, we've all witnessed how the injustices of health disparities that were mentioned earlier by Senator Murdoch have caused a disparate number of Black and brown people to succumb to the COVID-19 virus. We've lost grandmothers, fathers, aunts, leaders, and essential workers. While many others have faced economic uncertainty following the downturn of the economy, HBCUs are front and center in addressing this crisis, serving as trusted voices of authority in providing scientifically endorsed healthcare information while also being on the front lines providing care for COVID patients and extending assistance to small and minority-owned businesses to help them rebuild and recover. HBCUs are more than just educational institutions. They are sanctuaries for our society and our community. HBCUs have weathered so many storms since the day we opened our doors. And we remain agile and resilient forces of influence into the future. Through the decades, NCCU has not only survived, Pastor, but thrived and become a more diverse institution that serves an intergenerational community of learners. We serve all population and all races today, if you come to our campus. Our campus continues to flourish. From the initial 25 campus acres, our footprint now includes, as you heard earlier, 2 state-of-the-art research institutes where we are engaging in cutting-edge research. As you heard in the introduction, our researchers have garnered more than $34 million a year in research funding. We are engaged in research in health disparities for minority population. Our footprint now includes 3 new contemporary residential living halls because we want to provide for our students a living and learning place that is conducive to their education. We have a new student center. If you pass through the campus, you'll see the magnificent building right there in the corner. Why? Because we want our students to feel at home. We want them to have the opportunity that other students have at the other campuses. You heard Dr. Baines mention retail services. This is a food desert that we are in. On our campus, we've introduced more than 10 retail services now. A full kitchen, full service Starbucks for our students, the largest in Durham. A Subway that grosses more revenue than any Subway in Durham. A Pizza Hut. We want our students to feel at home and to have everything that they need. A Chick-fil-A on campus. I can go through the list. Because we are trying to create a place that supports the education, the vibrant education, and the living experience that supports our student education. Even in the midst of the pandemics, our doors have remained open, and our high-quality instruction has expanded to more scholars. Growth at NCCU includes the expansion of academic portfolio to meet current and future workforce demands in industries from clinical research to information technology and to cybersecurity. All of the students that we just graduated from clinical research have all been employed in the area. All of them. In addition to all of this, HBCUs would always be the centers of cultural pride, as you've heard earlier. Dr. Ward says if you didn't attend HBCUs, I can't remember exactly the word that followed that. Exactly. We want you to adopt one because it is a place where we not only just educate the mind, we educate the entire body, spiritually, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and otherwise. Our students learn who they are and develop the foundation that takes them to any other place after they leave our doors, and they do excel. We have a proven record for transforming the lives of our students, and a transformation that extends to their families, and one that changes their economic outlook entirely in life. I was talking to the First Lady earlier today, and I know you'll have young people that are looking to go to school or choose where to go to. I want to take this opportunity to speak to our young people. Whether you are in elementary, middle, or high school, I want to invite you to stay focused on your studies. I want you to take challenging courses. And I want you to apply to and select HBCUs to continue your education. I promise you, we will inspire you to be your best and brightest self and nurture your dreams. I am a living proof of that. The pastor is a living proof of that. Dr. Ward is a living proof of that. And many of you here in this room are living testimony to the transformative power of HBCUs. The future of HBCU is our collective responsibility. and Dr. Ward spoke to that brilliantly. While the first HBCU was founded more than 180 years ago, our advocacy and investment are needed to ensure these models of higher education are sustained for centuries to come. Graduates of our institutions have fueled a middle class filled with African Americans who have created a legacy of wealth for their families and for their communities. While there still exist wealth gaps in our country, and work remains in solving these issues related to economic disenfranchisement, education has proved to be vital in creating new opportunities and bridging economic inequalities, income growth, and including the establishment of countless minority-owned businesses. It is part of our collective advocacy to make sure that we continue to sustain HBCUs in our greatest area of need. And what is that? Student scholarships. Scholarship resources are needed for students who come to us from low wealth families, first generation students. Our mission has always been to provide access, especially for those students, as I said, whom the first in their family to come to college. Historically, we've done it. We've done a good job. But we must continue to do that. And today, as we look into the next 100+ years, HBCUs must survive. They must thrive. They can do so with your support, with your advocacy at the local and national levels. HBCUs are more relevant today than they've ever been. And for those who raise that question all the time, I've often responded to them that that is the wrong question to raise. We don't need to prove anything about relevancy, because the proof is in the pudding. We've done that. The question before us is, how do we continue to sustain HBCUs into the future? And that is why this moment at the sanctuary, Pastor Jay, is so important. I want to implore leaders, spiritual leaders like you, the leaders of our Greek organizations, our community industries and corporations, to begin to support our institutions. The return on investment is immeasurable, and we've provided that. And I'm so glad that today we now have organizations that are rising to the occasion. They are coming to the table. NCCU will be announcing a major gift on February 17th. I'm not going to mention that right now. And there are others who have provided support to our institutions. This is what we need from the society. So today, Pastor, without taking much time, I want you to know that as a leader of a preeminent HBCU, we want to thank you for your friendship. We are grateful for your support and your partnership, and to this church, and to the leaders of this church. I want to thank you for always making HBCUs, and in particular, NCCU, your priority. On behalf of our students, our alumni and our friends, we thank you for the work that you do. May God bless each of you and the St. Joseph's and Durham community. Thank you very much.
Amen. Give Dr. Akinyele a round.